I was just using my laptop camera, but the laptop is 15 years old and it was only like recording at 720p. So one of my Christmas gifts this year was to buy like just a cheap little camera that has 1080p quality. And it's got like
Nice.
significantly better like lighting differences and it gets the background better.
Do you need to use your camera a lot? Like, or you
No,
just,
but if we're trying to become podcast multimillionaires, we need to start investing in the budget.
what's crazy is that um, I've seen like clips of these podcasters or whatever. It's called like these kids basically, and they'll be podcasting and talking about just like the dumbest things, right? Like, they look like high school kids, and I checked and they had like 200,000 followers on Instagram, and I was like really depressed. I was like insanely depressed.
Well, Dave, what makes our podcast any different? We're just slightly older individuals that also continue to talk about stupid things.
But like, there's I can't find it. I could have saved it, but like they were like talking in circles about just I don't know. It's I guess we are like also doing the same thing. Like we're doing like just stupid topics about stupid things, but like it was basically like they were recording like middle school conversations. I mean, I was like, and it just upset me that 200,000 people were willing to listen to it. I guess that was my pet
Yeah.
peeve.
We need to attract more of the 20 to 30-year-old male age demographic.
I think
People fighting our struggles.
we need like the normie crowd, right? Because like I found like we the Sigma male and like Rogan crowd is too oversaturated, but like
Mhm.
but the crowd that listens to anything and everything is like the ones that are listening to the Hawk 12 podcast or like the Bradley Martin one or like things like that.
We have to become we have to become sorry, I'm adjusting my chair. Um, we have to become pure brain rot for the middle schoolers. Is
We did say we were going to
that
sell
what
out,
you're
so
suggesting?
yeah, I think we're looking at
It's
selling
coming
out
much
soon.
sooner than I could have. It came much sooner than I was expecting.
Yeah, we don't have much
Sorry,
integrity
there's like
around these parts.
no, nor we shouldn't. There's like 5 different levers on this chair that I got. Um, and I don't. Oh, that's the one that goes down. I'm trying to figure out the most optimal position for conversation, and I can't seem to find it.
Yeah, the chair I'm in is like just a very basic like wooden chair, like
Oh god.
no adjustment possible. So
Oh god. Is your back just killing you?
yeah, so that's why I'm always slouching or like cracking my back against this chair because
Yeah.
but I got my massage pillow mailed out to me, so hopefully that'll fix some things.
Yeah. No. God. No. For my Michigan rotation, when I was recording podcasts, it was either in like a couch or it was like on a wooden seat, and I only did the wooden seat once because after I was done, my back hurt for like 48 hours afterwards.
Yeah, I really can't wait to get back home and get to my nice like office chair with lumbar support
Yeah.
and everything.
Dude, this thing has lumbar support. I can't show you on camera just because it doesn't reach, but there's a pump that pumps air into like the lumbar area,
Mm,
and it like gives me the proper lordotic curve. So cool.
yeah, I'm
Move
getting
it
to
up
a
in the
point.
world, Dave.
I'm getting to a point in comfort where I'm like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to see the states and the comforts that are back there.
Yeah, I'm just playing with my lighting.
So
So
what
that's
else is new
something
in
where
in your life besides chairs?
finished up chairs. Finished up my second clinical rotation, and then I'm on to my third. And then after my third one, I graduate. So I've got 3 months down in Indy. Um, but that's like the next big thing. So I'll just be staying at home and commuting, which is not the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah, I've already started to think about like what I want to do after. I mean, this is what, 4 years in the future? Um,
Hmm.
maybe like four and a half. But like after law school and thinking about like
Hmm.
wanting to work in indie or whatever. And
Hmm.
I've just just so sick of commuting, like any more than 15, 20 minutes a day, like or 20 minutes one
Hmm.
way that I've thought about. I'm like, I'm honestly thinking about just eating the cost of living in the city just so I don't have to drive an hour a day. Like,
Yeah. No, an hour's way too much. I was doing 30 minutes for a little bit, and that was way too much as well. Like you'd get done with work, and then you like hop in the car, and you're just like, okay, do I go home or do I go to the gym? And I would go to the gym, but then after the gym, I would be really hungry and just like starving all the way home.
yeah, it's the problem with like the 9 to 5 hours is that like it's just so hard to fit in. Like if you commute, it'd be so hard to fit in a workout. Like I mean, I'm lucky enough now where back at the beach at least I can work out enough. Well, I can work out in the mornings because I have a short commute, or I can like do during the day during lunch. But that might be what I have
Hmm.
to do. I might just have to be a lunchtime guy, um, in the future. But
Dude, I tried to do a lunchtime workout, but if you're given like an hour for lunch, you still got to eat, right? Obviously, so like I would scarf down my food in 20 minutes, and that would give me like 30 minutes to like change or like to change, exercise, and then like an additional 10 minutes to like put some deodorant on and stuff like that. And I just felt like gross after. It's also probably just like my line of work too, where I have to be with people all the time. So I was always thinking, I'm like, oh, can they smell me? Can they smell that just I smell like Jim? I smell like boy right now. Gross,
I mean,
dirty, disgusting boy.
I'm lucky enough at least to where like I don't smell after working out. Like I basically have to go. If I go a few hours, then you can notice it. But if I work out like at lunch, I can go like the entire rest of the day without really being noticed. But there are
Yeah.
some people who decide to work out at like 5 a.m. and then don't shower the rest of the day, and they are very noticeable.
I've noticed that where I'm not particularly smelly. It's more like subconscious where I'm just like, okay, I hope I'm not smelling. Because you can become a little bit nose blind. But if I don't shower for like multiple hours after a workout, then it's like, okay, you can smell yourself. And that's how you know when it's bad, is when you can't smell yourself.
Yeah, because then people have been smelling you for the past 12 hours at that point.
Yeah. Disgusting. But
Yeah.
no, my clinical rotation was good. Um, I learned a lot. I feel like I can cure 80% of people now, which is like a pretty cool feeling. Um, and I'm just excited for my next rotation because it's a specialty rotation that's working specifically with uh like high functioning people. So this is like college professional athletes, military, and like um firefighters, police officers. So it's like basically what I want to be doing in the future. So it's gonna be like really cool to treat people that are um that need more, I don't know, need more thought into their plan of cares.
Yeah, I
At the very least, a different kind of thought.
I've been thinking that's probably what I want to do in the future. I think I do want to get into like personal training as like a hobby. I think that'd be cool. Like just to work with like you said, high functioning, more athletes, like or performance, where performance is the goal. I don't know. I think I've realized that that's something
Mhm.
that I just find fun. It's like training people. I've always
Mhm.
had fun just bringing people into the gym. At least people who like stick with it and care about it. Um,
Yeah, you should totally like study for like a month and get your CSCS.
is that good for
That's
life?
your certified strength. It probably needs renewal after every couple of years, but it's a certified strength and conditioning. It's like it's like close to the peak of like certificates that you can get for training purposes.
I feel like I'm
Like
pretty
if you're
close.
in, if yeah,
Like, because
that's like
I'm just thinking about
go
like
ahead.
the level of when I train people and like the level, like the amount of time I spend, like
Mhm,
listening to people talk about lifting and studies and all that, like I feel like I'm pretty close to where I need to be. Obviously, I need to study a little bit, but
mhm.
I don't know. Maybe that's
No,
just ego talking.
you'd be
But
fine. You would have to brush up on like a little bit of kines and like a little bit of like anatomy and physiology, just like metabolic pathways and stuff like that.
I'm basically brush up on,
So
and
like
I've
stuff that
never learned any of that.
no, well, but the thing is, you've talked about it before, and you've heard people talk about it. So it's more
Mm.
of just like actually like sitting down and like doing the studies because, and like doing the research because like you're fully capable of doing it. We've talked about it before. I was talking with one of my friends in PT school, and we were both talking about getting our CSCS right after we graduate. And I was like, "Oh, don't we need to like study for it?" And he's just like, "No, dude. I like pulled up. He like took a practice test, and then he showed me the practice test that he took. He's just like, I did this with zero studying, and I got a 90%. And on those type of exams, you need like a 70 or 75% to pass.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be good to have that as a fail-safe, in case I get like a year into law and then realize that I hate it,
Mhm.
which could be a possibility. So,
Could be a possibility. But then, like, who would you train? Would you just like go to a gym and take on clients, or I feel like the hardest thing about getting into the fitness community is just like your marketing. Like nobody really cares what you look like. They care more about like what you can do for others.
yeah, like, oh, here's a transformation picture from a client or something like that.
Yeah. Just go yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've got a decent example, like just having been fat, that helps because
Dude, dude, speaking of that, the picture that you posted on your Instagram looks insane. You look abnormal.
I
You look like a superhero character.
I'm hoping that I can like parlay that after we cut down in our like prep into like maintaining that kind of.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm gonna lose some size, but like I'm feeling pretty hopeful about our chances.
This goal that we've set for ourselves to like step on a bodybuilding show, you could probably just go on a cut. You could probably go on a 12-week cut and like be stage ready. I look like I currently look like Jeff Nippard right now at the end of his bulk. That's what I look like. I'm fluffy.
I mean, the nice thing is though, I think I think you just generally have more size than me to like be able to.
I
I
do.
don't have any size to lose really. Like if I lose some fat, I'm gonna lose some muscle, and like I feel like I'd be cutting
Mhm.
into my greatest strength. But
Yeah. You have the how do I put this? You're like the definition of like a mesomorph body where you have like skinnier hips and like broader shoulders.
mm,
And so your body's I believe is the most ideal for like a bodybuilding situation. Skinny waist, broad shoulders, decent sized legs,
yeah, it's not great for anything else
big
though,
pec.
because I've realized I'm like that's why running has always been just the worst for me because I carry 70% of my mass in my upper body. And my center of gravity is like in my
Yeah,
solar plexus.
yeah. I have the I have the tried and true powerlifting build where it's like I have wide hips, wide shoulders. Like one of my friends in high school. This is like when I was like pretty like lean. Like this was like during wrestling season. He would like make fun of me, and he would just be like, "Yeah, you look like Minecraft Steve." Like I'm just like completely rectangular.
I mean, I was talking to some people here about it. I was like, yeah, like uh, buddy and I are thinking about doing like a bodybuilding show, and I was like, I just have like the skeletal frame, I think, and like for bodybuilding, whereas like you, like even if me and you are the same body fat percentage and like same muscle mass, like everything, yeah, you're definitely more
Mhm.
blocky, more like a more lineman build
More,
than me.
yeah, yeah. Like I can put on mass very easily. Like like mass has never been an issue. It's always been like the body fat, like and the conditioning portions.
I probably,
Whenever I've done cuts in the past, it's
I
just
mean,
like yeah, I'll lose some weight, but like then I just hold it in my love handles. I need to get sub 10% to remove those guys.
I mean, I think I'll do okay at like those body fat, but like I've still never like I generally think I hold lower body fat percent than most people, but I've never been
Hmm.
even close to bodybuilding lean. So I'm pretty worried about the hormones and permanent damage I'm going to do to my body. But
Oh no, just do what you're doing. Take your supplements. Take your fish oils. Take your vitamin D.
I mean, I'm also good to like since me and you are doing it more of a hobbyist standpoint, I'm also good to like not get to a point like even if I'm not fully conditioned to like bodybuilding, I think I have enough mass where it'll cancel out. So I really don't want to get to a point where I'm zeroing out my testosterone and then like it just stays there for like 2 or 3 months afterwards. Like that's a big fear of mine.
I don't think that's not really a concern until you're like closer to like sub 8%. So like optimal for people for testosterone levels is between 10 and 20. It just depends on their frame. And then once you start dipping below 10, that's when you start seeing drastic decreases in testosterone.
I might just stay less conditioned and then just try one off size. That might be
I
my
mean,
my
yeah,
strategy.
yeah. I mean, my goal for the entire thing is to go on stage and not look like a fool.
Not
I'm
end
not
up on
trying to look like
like a
Murd.
YouTube then like a YouTube video where like you're the guy oiled up that just doesn't
Yeah.
belong on stage.
I don't want to look like Murr from Impractical Jokers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's rough.
My goal is to be in slightly better shape than that.
I mean, are we still aiming for a year and a half? You know, that summer where I get home and we got time.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a good
I
timeline.
think that's a good point because that's because my thing that I wrote down is essentially these next 3 months are going to be like my first cut that I do. So I'm going to go from 225 to slightly below right around 200, and then try to maintain 195 to 205 for like a half a year. It's kind of like bulking, so to be like more hypertrophy work, and just like trying to stay at that level of leanness, and then cut the calories again once we're closer to competition.
I'm real excited for that summer. Hopefully the prep doesn't cut into it too much, but with our plans for Japan, bodybuilding, hunting trip, it should be a good even though it's a year and a half out. But maybe that's too far in the future, and I should be more excited about my near future. But currently, I don't have.
I mean,
I
but
mean,
like,
I'm excited enough for near future. Like I've got like applying to law school, like some exciting things coming up. But I think just those like
mhm,
life mile points are definitely more 2026. That's like when I'm gonna start law school, bodybuilding, hunting, all that.
mhm,
So
yeah,
it's kind of
finish with the military. So
yeah.
yeah,
That's
your ending phase is 2026, or that's when your next phase of life begins.
yeah, so
Mine
it's pretty
begins
much a
in like
waiting game for
five
now.
months. Yeah, I've got 5 months before my life changes a little bit,
And
so
then
I'm
you have to grow
scared.
up and
I
be an
don't know what
adult
to
like
do.
me.
I know it's terrible, dude. School was so much fun.
Are you being facetious or do you mean that?
No, the part of like no responsibility. You don't really have to worry about much. You just have to like go in and study. And like, yeah, I had to pick up like weird odd jobs to like pay for rent and pay for food. But like, I don't know. I feel like once you have a job, then you have to start worrying about like all of the financial stresses of the world. Like I was doing that in grad school, just like I mentioned, but like it's not on the top of your mind. But at the same time, I'm like excited for it. Like I'm looking forward to the things that I want to start saving up for. Oh, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I like I've said, I think just as you're excited for like starting a job, I'm excited to go
Go
back
back
to
to
school
school.
almost. Because like because that's the thing. Like we said before, I think being in a job, I now feel like I'm so much more mature than I was right after undergrad, to where like
Mhm,
I can treat it like, hey, I know damn well this is easy. Well, not easy, right? It'll be difficult, like hard, but
mhm,
it's not. It's hard, but it's not difficult. You know, like difficult is
mhm,
balancing like hey, I gotta move out soon. I gotta deal with all this. I gotta deal with my car, all this maintenance, like insurance, all that.
Difficult is trying to do everything that you're trying to do, but like with a wife and kids.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get everything out of the way now. But
Yeah.
it is crazy. I was talking to a guy at work, from the MAs, and he was like, and we were just chatting about how like it's crazy that the age at which people have kids has shifted so much. Because I remember as a kid, my parents had me at 30, right? And like I remember as a kid,
Hmm.
that was late, or that was considered pretty late, 30. Whereas now it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's like, I mean, me and you both know people with kids that we graduated with high school with, but plenty of people we know, like I think most of our friends are more than likely not going to have a kid by the time they're 30, or like it's more unlikely than not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's my milestone. My milestone is like late 20s, early 30s for a kid. But like, yeah, I feel like there's just less people in long-standing committed relationships right now as like a whole. Like I know very few people that are like actively in my life that are in like a long-term relationship.
I think it's also hard
Like
because
let's
like
think about our
there's,
friend. There's like there's like one person in our friend group.
yeah, there, yeah, like one or two at the most. And I feel like it's,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this isn't a rule, but I feel like in general, the people who are progressing the most with their careers, or like they're, basically investing the most in their futures,
Hmm.
it's like almost like negatively correlated with long-term relationships. You know what I mean? Because I mean, not just the small sample size of our group, but I think in general, don't get me wrong, I have like two or three close friends from back home who have like bought houses. They're in a long-term relationship, they're getting married, and they're like nearing managerial levels at their companies in like data
Hmm.
science or statistics or something. And like so like there are definitely a handful of people that very successful, you know, set up for the future and are in relationships. But I feel like it's just these days it really is a trade-off. And I feel like with the amount of investment you got to have these days, like you basically need like a post grad, basically need some kind of doctorate or JD or master's or something that like you got to take the trade-off of not having that family investment almost.
Yeah. I I feel like the most successful friends that I have, it's either all or nothing. So it's like you either fully commit. This is kind of like a different conversation, but like you fully commit to like the academic path where you like you go to undergrad and then you get some sort of like post bachelor's degree, or you just don't go to school and then you either like start your own business or go into trade. And um those two spectrums, they're wildly different paths, but the outcome of like high income is pretty insane. Whereas the people that I know that got their bachelor's degree, they're doing well, but they don't really like compete with the people um, on the two groups that I was talking mentioning about earlier. And there's exceptions to that rule. Like I know like investment bankers and people of that caliber that have their bachelors and are just like making more money than I could ever dream of. But I would say like the vast majority, like it's either all or nothing with the school. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of interesting. Like the bachelor's degree is essentially useless outside of like the top 1%.
Yeah, yeah, I know you've especially brought up trade because I don't know as many. Actually, I don't know anyone personally that's in like the trade sector and like technical
Yeah,
schooling and made, but like I know
yeah.
you personally know like people who have made killings in that field. Um,
I was talking to a dude the other day that was he was a welder for 6 years. So like as soon as he graduated high school, he started off making $80,000 a year. Got paid a little bit more every single year after that. And then now he is like the manager of the welding company that he works at after 6 years, and he's bringing home over $150,000 a year. So it's just like, yeah, I mean, there's that.
I mean, it is funny that like there are completely different paths, but if you choose the in between, like you said, of the bachelor's, unless you're an investment banker or like a consultant, I feel like it's just
Yeah.
there's just no it's just not as lucrative of a thing, right? And I feel like it's kind of hard too because especially I mean, my family was little different growing up because my family pushed very hard on like post grad, like some kind of master's or JD or MD or something like that. But like most people I know, um, and I think generally just how our culture was is like, hey, go to college, get a job, right? And it's like, but now it's like, go to college, get a job is not really the right answer anymore. It's go to college for 8 years
Oh,
and get a
yeah.
job, or get a job right now. And
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Where because with every job outside of your bachelor's degree, um, they require some amount of experience beforehand, and so that's where everybody from our generation is struggling. Where like companies don't want to hire people that have never had a job before, and if the only experience that you've had working was like just getting your bachelor's degree, they would rather take somebody else over you. And so you're gonna have to like sell yourself short and take a job that you probably won't enjoy as much, so that you can get your first couple years worth of experience. And then like I'm sitting over here where like I can go to any single city in any single company in the United States, walk in, say, "Hey, this is my degree," and then they'll hire you. It's like kind of insane. Like I'm stressed because I can go literally anywhere.
it's kind of
Too many ice cream flavors, Dave. Too many ice cream flavors.
yeah. I mean, I that's kind of how my world's opening up after law school. I mean, any graduate, right? Like MD, JD, you know,
Hmm.
PhD, anything like that. Like
Yeah.
just the amount of options that open up is kind of, analysis paralysis kind of deal. But I guess
Hmm.
it makes it easier for me, like I said, because I've gotten to see the world a little bit more. I've gotten to live
Hmm.
outside of Indiana for the past 2.5 years, um, and like just just experience enough to where I'm okay with if my life turned into, hey, ending up back in Indiana or something like that. But
Hmm.
but like me and you talked about, I think especially me and you out of, out of the group agree on, it's like I think the regional thing is fine, right? Like I'm okay with ending up in Indiana, but also like I know me and you are more aspirational than a lot of other people, and just it's hard to feel like you're making the right decision when your sample size might be more like people who, settled down and just settled into some like five-figure job or something like that. And
Hmm.
it's hard when you're comparing. It's especially hard when you're comparing, right? Because like I mean, our buddies from college who went to like Chicago, they're like
Hmm.
experiencing more of life, right? Like they're like, hey, like a big city life. They're making more money. They're like, you know, networking with a bunch of, insanely successful people. Whereas I think
Hmm.
generally the people we know that stayed in Indiana are kind of more like just horizontal tr
Yeah.
or less directly vertical like trajectory.
But what's amazing about like if you were to stay in Indiana, your opportunity for growth is pretty high if you have the mindset to do it. Because like since there aren't so many like entrepreneurial types of people in Indiana, or like way fewer than in Chicago or New York or any like massive city, your opportunity to create a business that provides value to like your consumers, I think that's something that could potentially be overlooked as well. So like I'm specifically referencing like one of my friends and like and how he's grown his business locally, and how he's done a great job like networking with the local like Indiana leaders, and because been able to network, he's been able to grow his gym significantly faster than if he were like in Colorado, where or California or Chicago or New York, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the opportunity for growth is still there. I feel like I don't
It's
know.
just not the mindset's not like the community mindset's not there. You don't have a community that's full of like growth minded people. More people are going to become stagnant. if you do have a growth mindset and you do want to work on yourself and you do want to be better, the opportunities are there.
Yeah, I feel like there is somewhat of a ceiling though, almost, right? Because like at the end of the day, the level of industry and the top performers in Indiana just don't compare to like the ones in Chicago or the ones in New York or
No,
DC.
no, they don't. They don't. But then become the top performer of Indiana. Change the environment.
That's true. I think it's almost like going back as a big fish to a small pond. You know, like
Yeah.
which is not always a bad thing. I think I'm I mean, I think generally me and you are not really type A types. We're like driven, but not really. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I think we're pretty similar in like
Yeah.
I don't think competition really drives us. I think like competition with ourselves maybe or like ambition, but like I
Yeah.
don't really
Yeah.
have I don't get energized by like competing with other people and like being better than those other
No.
people.
No, I don't. I like competing for myself. There's a trap that I've noticed with like a lot of type A people where they hyper fixate on things that don't provide benefit to them or their career. And that's where I feel like I differ from the type A people, where like if I see something that I know is a waste of time, I will put the minimal amount of effort into it to succeed.
That's true. I think we are more or people like us that are more just driven but like more like type B are we
Hmm.
kind of choose our metrics a little better, right? Like our metrics are more like, hey, like if my let's say GPA is good enough to land the job I want, that's all I need. I don't need to be rank whatever in my class. I don't need to earn this distinction or whatever because like yeah, I agree that type A is like just a lot of type A people, like you said, just aim for every being at the top of every single thing, even
Hmm.
the things that don't really matter. Um, and I think, for example, like that's what my parents have said. Like my brother and I differ, right? Like me in college is like, yeah, I did well, but like I did just well enough to like land where I landed, be able to like set myself up for law school in the future. I don't.
Hmm.
I'm sure I wasn't ranked very high, like in the school. Like I did okay, but for example, like my brother, he's taking like 20 credit hours this semester, and my
Hmm.
goal was always to take like no more than 15 so I could skate. Um, and like it it is kind of crazy because like my parents have said like they wish he was more like me because he's kind of stressing himself out, not getting sleep, and they kind of see that I'm just happier, not comparing myself like that or like not aiming for
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Well, yeah, but your goals were, I think, different than his. If his goals require him to take 20 credit hours a semester, then he should do that. Like, I don't know if he's like double majoring or if he's just like taking classes for fun. I don't know what his goals are. But like, if that's his goal, then he needs to do it. Like, if he wants to double major and graduate early or do whatever the hell he's doing, then that's just part of the thing that you sign up for.
But I think sometimes like, and I think this is true for him. It's like I think like you said about type A people, they don't have that goal in mind. Or like they're more. It's almost like more short-sighted to where it's like, hey, I need to
Hmm.
just do really well at this thing right now, and then I'll figure out what it's for later. For example, my
Hmm.
brother hasn't really figured out what he wants to major in, but he's taking 20 credit hours. And like the thing's
Oh, I
20 credit
see. Okay.
hours, he's like he wants an internship his sophomore year, all this stuff. And like he doesn't really know if he wants to go to grad school, like med school, or what he wants to do. So it's more just like, hey, I'm gonna do everything now and then figure it out down the line. Whereas so I think it's just more like how far out are you planning and like what kind of horizon are you looking at? Because if your horizon is next
Yeah.
semester, then you can always be like, oh, I'm just gonna take 20 credit hours and kill myself over it. But if you're like
Yeah.
me and you, who are like you were like, I'm gonna go to PT school, you know that's 2 or 3 years in the future. You can kind of tailor everything more
Yeah.
for that.
I can do well enough to make sure that I can get into the programs. It's yeah, you don't have to get A pluses on everything, but you should probably prepare to get A's on nearly every class. But you don't need A pluses. A minuses are the way to go.
I think, yeah, I'm. I think I was more of an A minus kid. I mean, overall, I think I was
I mean,
an
just think
A.
about your what was your GPA?
It's like a 3.75, 3.8. So
Okay, yeah, so yeah, that's A minus range. That's A minus to A range.
yeah, and I'm okay with that. I had no
Yeah,
aspirations to be, to land in a newspaper, to land on the front page of Indiana University Times or whatever our newsletter was.
yeah, yeah. No, it is fascinating that some people make that their goal. Certain people's goals fascinate me because it's like a good for you type of feeling that I get where it's just like I'm glad that you're getting that opportunity to do that, but that's never something I would want. Maybe
It's
that's just
almost
type A people in general.
yeah, it's almost more of like you're saying, good for you, kind of like that's how I feel about people who are like proud of an achievement that I really couldn't care less about if it were for me. I'm like, I'm glad that that
Yeah,
gives you value or like that gives you fulfillment because that
yeah,
sounds not worth it in the slightest to me.
yeah. Have you ever completed something and then because this is something that I went through like last year where like you completed something and like technically it's a thing of like significance, but then you just didn't care that you did it. You're just kind of like, yeah, the thing that occurred.
I think
Like specifically for me, it was like when I published like a couple research papers. Like I did it, I put it on a lot of work, but then when I did it and like everything was said and done, I was just like, I guess that was cool. Whatever. I just thought it was just like the thing that I was supposed to do because I was working with people that were doing the same thing.
yeah,
Like, I didn't get very much reward out of the publications.
I guess my example for and this will come from a different reason for why I wasn't as like excited about having completed it was when I joined military. And like complete and
Yeah.
like don't get me wrong, it's like I was like proud to do it. Like I'm like and and like I did get a sense of pride from like going through and like when I like commissioned and all that. But
Hmm.
my reason was afterwards I kind of looked at and don't get me wrong, there were some really, really intelligent, far smarter than me, like 3 or 4 people that were like IBM execs or there was this one girl
Gosh.
she did like hackathons for fun and like was just like a coder
Yeah,
like for
that's insane.
and like I remember so this is not to disparage other people because I've met plenty of people that are far more intelligent than me in the military. But like I also saw like more of the bottom end, um,
Hmm.
and more of the bottom end of like these people, not just intelligence, but also like just quality of character. Uh,
Hmm.
and I saw,
Hmm.
and then at the end, we're all at the same rank, and I was like, wow, that kind of demeans or that kind of belittles like my achievement. Whereas like when you see someone that you don't really have that same level of like awe and respect for end up
Hmm.
at the same level you are, you're kind of like, oh, that's not really.
Ooh,
Now I feel less about my achievement because they did the same thing.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Uh, so you were comparing yourself to others.
It was more just like I was comparing my achievement. It was like because like I said, I I looked I was very not in awe, but like I respected like the really intelligent ones a lot, or the ones that were really good at what they did. Like there were some that maybe intelligence wise they weren't the greatest, but like they were like great just leaders, right? Like they had like interpersonal skills like I couldn't believe. They're just good with
Hmm.
people, and like they were meant to be like officers, right? They were meant to be leaders of people. But then
Hmm.
you got people just on the other end that are ranked the same and have the same level of prestige as those people, and that's what kind of annoyed me. I'm like, at the end of the day, they both get the same respect or salute, and that
Yeah.
doesn't really sit right with me.
So Dave, then what you do is you work up in ranks. You get promoted
But like
so
but
that
that's
they
the
have to
problem.
salute.
But that's the problem is like there's a very common saying or a very common sentiment in the military is that like the good ones get out, right? Because like the how the military works is a lot of times it's the people who get promoted are just the ones that stuck around for long enough. And I've
Mhm.
talked to a lot of people that I respect a lot, people that are accomplished, people above me, people I work directly for, and they like
Mhm.
I've heard the sentiment like I kind of just at least I've heard one sentiment from someone that was like, I just don't respect my peers, and that's what I'm getting out. Right? It's like I don't feel proud to be in my position
Yeah,
because my peers that are ranked the same as me, I don't respect
yeah,
them. Like I don't think they're good at what they do. So
yeah.
like it's hard to be in an organization like that, like any governmental thing or any super hierarchical structure where like
Hmm.
you're looking at the people above you and you're like, wow, this person is lost and doesn't know what they're doing. I don't
Hmm.
want to be part of this organization. And then you get, then you get a lot of the good ones leaving. I'm not saying I'm one of the good ones just 'cause I'm leaving. I plenty of way more qualified people than me. But
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you're too good for the military, and that's why you're leaving.
that's
That's what I got
definitely
out of it.
definitely not what I'm saying. But there are a lot of really qualified people that end up leaving for that reason, which is like just it's not you're just not surrounded by the right people, I guess, anymore.
Hmm. No, and I feel like that happens with pretty much any job where you'll have people that you work with that like some might be better, some might be worse, but if like the vast majority are like worse than what your expectations are, it's not going to create the best environment for you to stay. Like I noticed this in PT as well. There's like some amazing, wonderful PTs that I've worked with directly, and then there's other PTs that I just see that are just like coasting. And when they're coasting, you can just tell. You can like feel the energy off of it, and they bring like a negative aura to the clinic or the site that you're at, and you're like, okay, at least for me, I'm like my goal in life is not to be like that person. If I end up like that person, I think I failed.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this like pretty common saying. I'll give the PG version of it. I'm sure you can imagine
Okay.
what the actual version is, but it's basically hookups for screw ups. Um, and hookups for f ups is basically what like the saying is, right? And basically how
Yeah.
the reason for it, and I don't know how much this works. I don't think this is as common in the civilian world, just because if you're bad at your job, you probably just get fired. Um, but
Hmm.
generally, how it is like the people who are best at their job, or the people who are bad at their job, people don't have trust in them anymore, right? So they don't give them
Hmm.
responsibility. They're like, I don't want you to handle these important things. So they give it to the people who are best at their job. So really, being good at your job, like especially in the military, you get paid the same as someone who's at your same rank. Being good at your job
Hmm.
means that you just get more responsibility and you get more shoved onto your plate. So, like you said about people who like just kind of skate or kind of coast, those people are the ones that have the easiest time, right? It
Oh yeah, for sure.
it doesn't really incentivize it. It provides like a negative consequence for being good at your job almost.
Oh yeah. No, I this was a conversation that I had with somebody that I was working with, and we were talking about one of their coworkers, and I like explained it. I'm like, there's no incentive for them to be better. Like they do everything that they need to do. They're going to put the bare minimum in, and because like they can't afford to lose the person, they're just they're going to coast because they don't get paid anymore. They get their job done, even if it's not well, they get it done, and that's the bare minimum. It's just like you're putting significant if you're putting significantly more effort in but still getting the same result out, why would you put more effort in? Which is the entire precipice on why I want to start a business. Because I feel like there's direct correlation with effort in versus like what you get out. And if you're like stuck in a more corporate job, that's not always the case. Especially something in healthcare where like you're you're I don't know, you bottleneck pretty quickly. There's only so much money that you can make because there's only so much money that the insurance gives you.
Yeah, I think that like you're saying, starting your own business, or I know people who like work on commission or things like that. Like there's got to be some level. I mean, obviously it's higher risk, but for people who care about doing a good job, or people who take pride
Mhm.
in that in their work, I feel like it is hard not being in an environment like that, just because it's not a meritocracy. And and I remember thinking that like the military was a meritocracy before I joined, and then I joined and realized the reality of the situation. But that's
Yeah.
that is the hard thing when you start to see like, because like I said, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about people I know who are really good at their jobs, and I there was one guy in my office who like was like the guy, right? Like everyone went to him for everything. Therefore, everything got thrown
Hmm.
on his plate. He was responsible for like four people's jobs. Like his job now,
Hmm.
and like he's gone now, but like his job now is split among like four people because like he just had
Oh
that much because
my
he
gosh.
was just like that good. But you just kind of get screwed when you are, when you're the one guy.
Yeah. Uh. Yeah, that's hard. That's frustrating, and that's why you need to leave or negotiate for a higher salary,
I'd like to think, and I know I've
which you
probably brought
can't
this up
really
before.
do. On the,
Yeah, you can't really do it in the military, but I know I've said this before, but I'd like to think that being in a more professional field, like a higher bar or like higher prerequisite field, like PT or med school or law school or something, I'd like to think, or I'm hoping that there will be less of that, just because it'll hopefully weed out some of the underperformers. But you never.
from what I'm see, from what I've seen so far, it's pretty much the same. Where it's
I mean,
like the more that you're able to do, especially like if you're on like a salary and you're not getting like increases for like the amount of like cases that you take on or the amount of paperwork that you have to go through or like the amount of patients that you see in my case, if there's not like compensations for that, then like you're just gonna burn yourself out doing more and not seeing any increase in benefit. Or I would think so anyways, I don't know. I'm not actually there yet. These are more just observations.
I think that's part of why, and I know this will be a thing, and it's just inevitable. But I think that's part of what, like, that's actually an incentive for why I never thought about doing big law before, right? But I've mentioned to you that like been considering it after law school, um,
Mhm.
just because like I know it'll be more difficult, like more hours and all that. But like just being in an area where people are actually rewarded for being good at what they do, I'd I'd like to think that those areas are where people excel, right? Because like just I like I said, I don't thrive off competition, but I also do. I want people to. I want a meritocracy, right? It's not competition. It's more of just like I want people to get their just desserts. I
Well,
want people to get what they earned.
you
You know.
you want justice. That's what you want.
Yeah, I want justice. If I'm not the top performer, I don't deserve to be paid the most. Like straight up. But
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's how it should be. But then you also don't want to like screw the people like at the bottom that are like lower performers but still like doing quality work. I don't know.
I mean,
Who
I guess it all
knows?
comes down to like that. It's the same thing with just equity and equality at the same time, right? Like or that people talk about with welfare or things like that. It's like,
Hmm.
do we give incentives to the top performers to keep them performing the best because they bring in the most money or they do the most work or they bring in the most clients or whatever it is? Or do we
Hmm.
try not to screw the people at the bottom? But
Yeah, because I feel like for companies where there's a program that incentivizes productivity, what generally just happens is that the same pool of money just is distributed, but it's distributed like away from like the lower performers and given to the high performers. So like even if you're like winning more cases or taking on more cases, um, you're bringing in more money, but you're giving most of it to the company that you're working for. And
yeah,
so like the pool that sits aside for like the the um gold your your wages essentially, um that pool stays relatively the same, or at least that's what I've noticed just in the medical industry. Like it doesn't really matter how many more patients you see, you still get paid the same.
cost makes
It's
a
like
dollar, I make a
frustrating. And
dime.
there's like yeah, I mean essentially, and you bring in you bring in more money for the company, then the company doesn't do anything that to for you that I don't know. You don't see that money back again. I don't know. Just thoughts I've been having. More reasons. It just motivates me to like start a business quicker.
I don't think
which is something I always wanted to do.
I don't think we've spoken on this podcast about our recent switch though in mindset.
Versus Switch. Well, okay, so your mindset has shifted for sure. Mine is still like more on the fence, where at the end of the day, I will be owning a PT clinic, and whatever that entails, like with a gym, without a gym, I just know I'll need like certain gym equipment. So if that expands to something else, I'm more than happy to do it. But essentially, from what Dave's getting at from our last conversation off the pod, was we were going gung ho about our gym idea, but we came to the revelation that we just wanted a home gym. We just really wanted a cool home gym.
Yeah, that basically was the conclusion that we wanted to own a gym more than we wanted to own a business.
Yeah.
At least from that standpoint. I know obviously your PT practice is different, but like at least from the commercial gym standpoint, the draw of owning our own gym was the incentive that kind of blinded us to what we actually wanted.
But it's still not a no,
Yeah, I think
because
one
I
day
at
like
least from my perspective, I since I'm opening up the PT clinic in the future at some point, that just opens the opportunity for a gym business to be opened up as well on top of it.
yeah, and I mean I think the timeline at least is pushed. That's the nice thing is that we're no longer accelerating our timeline. When I was
Maybe
thinking about just like at 30 opening up a full commercial gym, 100,000 square feet or whatever.
no,
Like I,
Dave. Here's what I'm going to do. I've got a new plan. My new plan is to join the military, stay in for 20 years, get my pension, and just put all of my pension money into a gym.
so the timeline has no longer shifted by
Concern
5 or 10 years. The timeline has now shifted by 20 years.
20 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Full of great ideas, Dave.
there was an incentive there. I think that I don't know. I think I still am in the process of, like I said, I haven't even been to law school, let alone seeing what actually practicing that is like. So I think I'm still just trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. You know, like what I actually like out of life. That's kind
You're
of,
like a little kid. What do you want to be when you grow up, Dave?
and I don't think I'm gonna know until I'm 30. Like honestly, like until like I finish law school and like start working and
I think that's the beauty behind it. It's like you're always growing and you're always developing and you're always trying to figure out what makes the most sense for you. Because what made sense for you 5 years ago doesn't really make sense for you today. I don't know, I feel like that's the fun journey that we all play, is trying to figure out what path we're going to be taking and how that path will change.
I that's true. I think I'm looking at it from a pessimistic standpoint, but I think it also means that we're at least trying to grow because if you keep realizing you don't want to be doing what you're doing, at least it's an
Mm,
incentive to get out. Whereas
mm,
if you think, hey, I might like what I'm doing for the rest of my life, not really much opportunity for growth there, I think.
yeah. I don't know. I like change too much just to do the same thing forever.
I used to say I hated change. I can't remember if I've mentioned it to you. I definitely have said that before as like a catch-all statement where I'm like, I hate change. And like that's why like I love Indiana because nothing ever changes. But like I think I am realizing now it's like I do get well, I don't love change or I don't seek out change like a lot of people do and like just I like routine, but I also do like
Mhm.
change and like just the big picture things, right? Like I think I'm realizing now it's like more like you where I'm growing more to be like you to where I get bored, right? Like I get so bored doing the same thing over and over. And
Yeah,
and just the thought of doing, for example, what I'm doing now, the thought of doing what I'm doing now for the next 20 years, like revolts me.
yeah.
I can't imagine
And
doing that.
yeah, and you see like in other things that you do outside of work where like your passion for the gym, I don't think that'll ever change. Like you're still going to be in the routine where you're going to get up, you're going to go work out. Your workouts might look different 20 years from now than they do now, or at least I hope they will.
No,
Your
I'm
body
still
won't
gonna
like
ego
you if you
lift. I'm still gonna ego lift. 20 years from now, I'm gonna be breaking my joints. just the ego lift.
You're gonna go in. You're gonna go in for a 600-pound deadlift at 55, and
I'm
then
gonna
everything snaps
every single disc I want a hernia in.
all the way up.
I'm going for 100% completion.
Wow, achievement unlocked.
Achievement unlocked hernia.
Uh, no, but like, yeah, there's like certain things that like I have in my life, you have in your life that like I do want to keep the same, but I hope that the career always changes because at the end of the day, no matter what, up until you retire, you're probably going to be working 40 plus hours a week. And if you're doing the same thing every single day for 40 hours plus a week, I think that would get boring pretty quickly. So at least like the aspiration of moving up in the career or like doing something that like slightly pivots from like what you were doing. I don't know. Thoughts for the future.
Yeah, I think I think the nice thing is just knowing now, knowing what we know now. It's like, I mean, maybe you'll stick with PT longer than I will with my career field of choice, but knowing what I know now, it's like I can't see myself doing the same type of job for more than, 5 years at a time. Like 5 years,
Yeah.
40 hours a week is a lot of
Like
time.
yeah. Just imagine what you could be doing in that time. Could be you could be a professional bodybuilder.
I could do that.
I
I
feel
could.
like I feel like that life I feel like being a professional bodybuilder would be like a pretty boring life though. Like it's just like you're such stuck in your routine. You wake up, do your fasted cardio, eat some breakfast, do some stretches, go to the gym, eat, and then like do nothing.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it'd also be hard because it was the same thing when we were originally talking about starting the gym, where it's like not wanting to turn a passion into what puts food on the table. Because like,
Yeah.
I mean, me and you both like fitness, right? Or just like working out, like different types. Like me and you kind of diverge on that, but just general exercise, I think, excites the two of us. And
Mhm.
I never want to get to a point where like I'm like, hey, my physique is now what brings in the money. My physique determines if I get to
Yeah.
eat tonight. So like,
Yeah.
I think building that while I would love to be able to like parlay my you know passion for bodybuilding into like a career, I think
Mhm.
I if I really dig deep and like we did with the gym, if I really dig deep, like I don't know if that is what I want. Right? Like I feel like I don't want to destroy my relationship with like one of my few hobbies that I really do truly love doing.
Mhm. So no influencer bodybuilding Dave. Unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think
That's the
being an
best
influencer
version
would
of
be
Dave.
would be would be funny and fun for a bit, but like even that, like I can't imagine, waking up and you're 37 or whatever, and you're like, all right, time to make a TikTok and try to get a sponsor for
Yeah, who's like the oldest influencer?
like
Like who's been
fitness.
doing it the longest?
Bradley Martin, I'd say, is
Yeah.
probably up there. 'Cause I remember Bradley Martin from when I was like 16, 15 area, like
Yeah.
16,
Yeah.
17. Like he's been doing it for probably going on 10 years. And he's old. He was old
Yeah.
when I started watching him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how he does it. Because he's basically the same person that he was when we started watching him in high school.
I mean, I think that's why he's kind of faded off a bit. But like there are, I just, and I guess it's not like he's like stagnant, right? Because he owns his own gym. He has like other. I don't really keep up with Bradley Martin. I haven't in a while, but like,
You're telling me you don't watch the Raw podcast?
is that what it is? Is that his podcast?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't really keep up. But like, I know he still like opens up gyms. I know he's still doing that. So I feel like he's not stagnating. But I can't be in like a certain sphere. I think for that long, right? Like,
No.
I just don't like making things my personality. I guess the gym is kind of my personality, but
Mhm.
I could never be like hey, what have you done for the past 20 years? And I have one answer to give. Like, I think it's so
Yeah.
cool when, like, the coolest things for me are like guys like Johnny Kim, right? Like, if someone like Johnny Kim, they're like, hey, what did you do the past 20 years? It's like, oh, I was a SEAL, Harvard doctor, NASA astronaut, all that. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
what's way cooler to me than like, hey, and I respect people who are like good at their job and do it for 30 years or whatever, and like that's like their thing.
Yeah.
But a
Yeah.
guy like Johnny Kim is so much cooler to me that like he did everything.
Dude, I have that in my mind all the time, like his picture when he's like with like all of the things that he's done.
Hmm.
And I just sit back and I'm just like, I really want that to be me. Like to some degree, I just want to be like so varied in my life experiences that when I like sit down at the end of the day after at the end of my life and just be like, damn, I did some cool shit. I mean,
Yeah,
and
just
it brings me back to um like I did my little journal thing again where like I wrote down like lessons that I've learned. And one of the things that I wrote down was where's it at? Uh I said write something worth reading or experience something worth writing. Um so I think that's like really cool to be able to like have a varied experience in your life. And like as you're going through your life to be able to like mark it down or write it down or take videos to see how much you've changed and you've experienced and to like write your own personal story. Be the hero in your own story. That's my goal.
I think
The goal
that
for
really
now.
is the now that you mentioned, I think that really is the driver for like it was last year, I guess, New Year's when we did a podcast that I mentioned wanting to say yes to more things and like just not being the guy that says
Yep.
no to everything. And
Hmm.
I mean, it's still a journey for me. Like, I've still said no to a lot of things, but I've been trying to branch out more and like, I have gotten a lot of new experiences, like just being in Europe and all that. Um,
Yeah, you went to Oktoberfest while in Germany.
yeah, like that, things like that. It's like, I'm like kind of almost like a bucket list thing. And like you were saying, like an
Yep.
experience worth talking about. Like by, by the end of next summer, I want us to be able to be like in our future autobiographies, be like, hey, also, as I finished up with the military and you finished up PT school, and well, you started your actual practice, we body built, hunted, and went to Japan, and like those are all things that we can just say we've done. And
Yeah,
being able to say you've done something,
exactly.
not as a brag, but just like, hey, like that's just something that s- a,
I did.
a lot of people don't have. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I completely agree, and I think that was the idea when I wrote that down because like I'm not creative enough to write stories, and nor do I want to be, but I want to do cool things so that I can write them down, and then upon reflection of those things, to be like, okay, I've maximized my time. I've done everything that I can and care to do.
mm, yeah, I'm I'm also not a great like. No, I'm not that I'm not a great writer. Like I can't write about experience, but like I don't have that creative gene for like writing
Yeah.
science fiction or whatever. But yeah, I think
No, I could never do that.
aiming for those experiences where like at least you can be like, hey, uh, I guess what drove this, and I mentioned this a few months ago, but my coworker I talked to, where he was like, yeah, whenever I go home and the people who are stuck in my hometown are talking about their work that day, I can
Mm.
I can have a story about being across the world and doing this thing and like this crazy thing that happened.
Yeah. I have this like mini life goal that I have written down of like to write a biography. And the goal with like, the biography is just to do enough cool shit so that people will read it cover to cover. Like, and it could be a short biography. It can be like 150 pages, but I just want people to read it cover to cover.
Yeah, or even like
That would be that's that's a dream. That's a dream to live a life worth reading about in a story.
because yeah, not many people as I mean, if we take a sample size of people, like not just our friend group, but I'm saying just like people we know or people we knew in high school,
Yeah.
college, not many people at this current point am I reading that book. You know, there's a few,
No.
don't get me wrong. There's a few that are really out there, but there's not too many.
Mhm.
And being
No. Yeah. I agree, and I think that's the the concept is that like not too many people get to do like really cool things all of the time. And I think if I can like set my life to do those cool things would somehow set me apart, I guess. Not that I care to be set apart from other people, but I don't know. I just like to do cool things. I it's 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 my undiagnosed adult ADHD that is just never satisfied with the current thing. I'm always searching for the next.
I mean, like you said, it's not really like competing or like trying to one up people. Like you don't, it's not trying to one up people on their stories, but like it's just having something to bring to the table. I think that's the cool
Yeah.
thing. It's like just having being the guy at a party or being the 70-year-old dude at the diner at the Denny's who some college kid runs
Mhm.
into, and then you just impart life wisdom on that. I think that'd be cool. Be like some college kids are like on a trip, and then they stop at a Denny's, and they run into you having your coffee, and
Yeah.
you just tell them your life story, and they just sit
Like
enthralled
that,
for half an hour.
that so that's like such a romantic thing to think about, but then think about the other side of that. How many times do you have to like go to a Denny's by yourself and just like drink coffee before somebody comes up to you?
No, so here's the goal, right? Okay, so here's our life plan, me and you both. All right, we're gonna do
Okay.
so many cool things by the time we're 50, and then the next 20 years, we're gonna spend every day, we're gonna spend 3 hours at a Denny's just sipping on coffee and
Oh
waiting
my
for someone to come ask us about our lives.
oh my gosh. What an ultimate goal. How do we become more appealing so that people could, do we have to like wear a sign like, "Hey, I'm 70 and I've done cool shit. Talk to me about for life advice."
Well,
Are
I
we
I
gonna
think
are we gonna become the life coaches?
I think
Is
just
that what
being
we're
there
gonna
will be
do?
enough of a draw, right? Like it'll be like some guy will walk and be like, "Hey, like those dudes come in here every single day, and they've been here for the past 20 years." And then they'll ask us, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, have you been? How long have you been doing this?" And be like, "Oh, we were doing this right after we won the Mr. Olympia." And then we
Yeah.
parlay it. That's our hook. That's our hook. We've only been
Dude,
doing this
yeah.
for 25
I
years.
love Dude, I love listening to just to like old people talk about like stories about things they did in their past. And even if like most of them are like lies, like a notorious one is like the dad or the grandpa that claimed to like bench 405 in high school.
hmm
Like even if it's a lie, you're just kind of like enthralled. You're just like, "Oh, tell me more. How'd you do that?"
I
That
mean,
would be
like,
cool.
yeah, that's I want. I'm gonna write that down in my notes. I'm gonna write that down in my thoughts and musings notes, which I haven't used in years. But I'm gonna write just like actually now that I look at these notes, these are worthless. Why do I have olives boba written down?
What are you, boba?
It's a note that just says olives boba. I think it was like a prank idea. That's in my musings.
Dude, could you imagine? You go to order some boba and there's just a whole bunch of olives in there. I think I
That
would puke on the
yeah,
spot.
no, I despise olives. Like they're probably my least favorite food. And yeah, I would throw up. I mean, this is very sidetracked, but I've had like two experiences now that are just awful food experiences. Not all of us, but
Hmm.
one time I was at a Chinese buffet back in Rhode Island, and they made a fruit salad with mayonnaise. That was awful. And then today I had oatmeal at lunch, and it was like salted, and that was gross. So,
Okay. I
so I
think
think
I could.
olives and
I
boba
think the only.
would rate among those. I think.
Yeah, I agree. What else do you have in your mystical notes?
Um, half of these make no sense, right? Let me see when these were made. Okay, this was 2019. Uh,
Okay.
in, you can try to decipher what this means. Invitation, no more obligation. Excuses then show up. I have no idea what that means.
Wait, say that again. I'm gonna decipher it. Hold up.
Okay, first
One
line
more
is
time.
invitation, no more obligation. And
Imitation. Okay.
and then the second line is excuses then show up.
If you become an NPC, you complain about life more.
I don't think that's what I meant, but then let's move on. This one also, I don't know if I meant these to be deep or like I was just probably really maybe I was drunk. This one's cars bring us together, but only to be farther apart. I don't know what that means.
Uh, because if you have to drive somewhere, it means you live further away.
Yeah, these are okay. It's like one of those things. You know when like you think you have a great idea and then you realize like everyone's had it before. These are worse because it's like
Yeah.
you've had a great idea, like you thought you had a great idea, but then no one's had it before, and you realize it's because it's really dumb, and like that's
Yeah.
why no one's ever thought of it. All right, I like this new note though. Live a life worth talking about at Denny's.
Good. Good. I like that. Uh, let's see. Oh, see, you have like funny notes. I have like
Serious things.
not funny, serious or like romantic notes, like romanticizing life notes. Um, yeah, this one's kind of silly. Not really. Every beginning implements a change, and every beginning creates an end to something. Basically, like when you start something new, something else has to end for you to continue on. I think that was like in reference to something like in school that one of my professors said. They were just like, "Yeah, you." I think this was like 2 or 3 years ago. They're just like, "Yeah, you're starting PT school now. Give up. You have to give up some of the things that you thought were important to you. They aren't important, so that you can succeed here."
I mean, at least yours makes sense, and you can like
Yeah,
make heads or tails of it.
justify it. Yeah. What's another one? Um, this one's kind of a deeper one. Uh, do what you were called to do. Fulfill your duties of becoming what you were meant to be.
See, now
I
now I
feel like we
feel
all
now
have
I
like,
feel really now I feel really stupid about what I have in my notes. Everything you say is making me feel a lot dumber about what I have in here.
but yours are so much funnier than mine.
I have I have in here a note. This was May 2020. So what is that? Height of COVID? You know
Yeah.
that might be what caused these. It's titled "Hate," being bad at things, incompetence, and stupid things.
This is your Genshin Impact days. These are the days that you would play Genshin Impact for like 12 hours a day.
I think that might be what it was. Like I think like I was so brain rotted away that like I thought these were worth writing down.
Yeah.
Ah, I'll keep those in there for posterity.
I miss those. I miss those days. Well, that's amazing.
Well, at least reading those made me
So,
realize that I've always been less intelligent than I believed. That's nice. That's a nice humbling moment actually to read what I wrote before thinking that was intelligent.
oh gosh, I wrote, what did I write? I think I wrote a paper in college. I don't even remember. It was a scientific paper. I think I wrote like a paper on like rhabdomyolysis in college, and then I went to go back and read it the other day. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm writing like a toddler. Nothing makes sense. This
I
would
mean
get
it
me flamed
I
by
mean
my
it is
professors
crazy
now.
though. It is crazy though like how much like just that level of development from like 18 to 22. Like it I know it sounds like us just belittling college kids again like we do a lot, but like it
As former college kids were allowed to do so.
but but it is really wild to think like just being in college or being in your early 20s, late teens, like just how intelligent you
Mhm.
think you are. Like once you finish high school, there's such a sense of self-importance and ego, and every day I see one of those things that reminds me of my past self, reminds me of that. I'm like,
Yeah. See, that's an interesting experience. I never felt like I was like hyper intelligent in college because I was always surrounded by people smarter than me. Like I was surrounded by people that would like they would be TAs for classes in their junior year, and then they would like go on to publish like some super scientific research paper that like I could barely understand. I probably honestly didn't understand at all. And then they would like further on and like go get their PhDs or attend med school. And so like I never had the sense of like hyper intelligence. Maybe if I was in the business school, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, that's probably what it was, honestly. Like I think mine was big fish, small pond kind of thing. Like I was, I mean,
And you
just
say
going up.
that going to one of the best, and you're saying that going to one of the best business schools in the United States.
Yeah, like that's still crazy to like have that experience of. I mean, from high school on, like high school, I never really tried. I was like near the top of my class. You know, IU, I really didn't put any effort in, and like
Mhm.
it is crazy now looking back to maybe it's like that whole Dunning-Kruger thing where it's like maybe I really wasn't that intelligent. I know I was always told like IQ wise or my like standardized testing that I was, but
Mhm.
I think I think I'm learning now that my street smart or like my book smart really didn't translate over. Like I just having been in the real world for now 2.5 years and like, interacting with people who have
Mhm.
been working or interacting with real people who have been out in the real world, like I'm realizing now like
Mhm.
I would absolutely hate to talk to the kid I used to be like 4 years ago. Like that would be insufferable to talk to him now.
You can go listen to them. We have recorded podcast episodes.
I am really grateful. Like I know we mentioned this before, but I am really grateful like for this like I mean essentially project of ours. This podcast basically just being a little
Yeah.
like project of or like maybe it's like experiment of ours. Because
Yeah.
like you said when we were joking about me applying to law school, like how many people outside of influencers and YouTubers, which is like what like less than 0.1% of the population, have just this much content of them recorded for posterity. Like we have we have documented our pretty much I think like one of our most important developmental stages of life, right? Like from what were we
Mhm.
19 when we first started this or 20?
No, it was COVID, so we were 20. Yeah.
I mean like just in the past 4 years, just like not just a snapshot but being able to see like that direct path of how low at least I think you've stayed around the same. That's the problem with listening to the old ones is I can't focus on what you and your growth because I'm so revolted by what I'm saying.
Well, and I don't think I've like as bad it is to say, I don't think I've like had any drastic revelations. I've always just been kind of like acquire knowledge, kind of stay in the middle of the road for most conversations because I purely just don't have enough experience to make informed decisions about things. And so like my entire goal when we're having conversations is to learn from the other person. And I feel like I keep that same mentality now. Talking to you and like really just talking to really anybody. I just want to like learn as much as I can. But I'm gonna fall into the trap where I think um because I'm learning so much and not spouting my own ideas, uh I don't know what my concern is. Maybe there's no concern. I don't know. I just like listening to other people talk.
I mean, I think the nice thing is even though me and you, even now, I think we still do have a little bit of a divide in like the kinds of people. You're definitely more of like a listen type, and I'm more of a talk until I figure out what I'm trying to say or think. Um, but I think it is cool because like you're not. I've mentioned to someone before that like there are some people that feel like you're talking to a brick wall, right? Like it's like they're not spouting off what they're saying, but they also have zero input and they don't have any critical thinking like going on in their head while you're talking to them. Whereas like
Hmm.
I think you don't really have that worry of being boring because like we've said and I've said to other people before, my biggest indicator for like whether I'm going to get along with someone is just like whether or not our conversations feel meaningful. Like whether or not it feels like small talk or not. I, I and I know I've said this to you offline, and I've said this to other buddies here. Whenever me and you talk, even when we're not recording, it feels like we're doing a podcast. And I know.
No, because we talk the exact same way. We're talking like we would normally talk.
Hmm.
Maybe we have some more shouting, and maybe there's less interruptions, but or more interruptions even. But yeah, we talk very similar off the pod. But this is how I talk to like most people in my life. I don't know. Maybe that's bad for me. Maybe I've consumed too much content and I've got podcast brain.
I definitely feel like we still have, because I definitely present a little more when we're recording. Or I'm definitely doing more like talking to the audience a little bit. Like
Yeah,
when I say,
yeah,
I know
yeah,
we've talked about this before and all this stuff, like the little
yeah.
ad libs I say, but like I think I think we definitely do still have a performative aspect when we're talking. Like whenever whenever you're trying to call or like Andrew's in there and me and you were talking about a topic,
Yeah.
it feels like we're presenting it as like a thesis statement about whatever we're talking about.
He was our dude, dude. He was our forced listener. He was our one forced listener when we
So
went into podcast mode.
so we just had an experience. I know you've brought up before streaming this and like recording it live.
Yeah,
We just had our first experience by forcing him to listen to it, and our result and our hypothesis was, hey, well, we might get some engagement. Our conclusion was they will leave the call.
yeah. He'll leave the call. And what would that even look like? A live stream podcast? Potential disaster.
I think, I just realized we just reinvented radio shows. That's what radio shows are.
We did.
Because
Yeah,
radio shows, it's hey, caller number, whatever, like tell us what you're thinking, and then they give us a topic and we chat about it.
yeah, yeah. Those are some of like my favorite clips though. Whenever I'm like scrolling through YouTube Shorts, and there's like a caller that comes on to like Theo Von's show or like Dave Ramsey, and they just like hop in and just like ask a couple questions, and then the professional or not professional gives them life advice. It's like one of my favorite things.
That's what I really like about Ear Biscuits, the GMM podcast
Yep.
they do, because they have like they're huge, so they're big enough to have like they have a voicemail line, and they have people dial in and leave voicemails, and then they pull up the voicemails, and it'll be like, hey, like blah blah, blah this question or like this issue I'm having with my life, and then it's two dudes like they've lived a lot more life than us, so a lot of times they do have some insightful things to say, but a lot of times it's really dumb things. They're just making jokes and like just talking around topics, which I think that would be super cool if we could start to like really get some engagement, people.
Ooh, I think we can do it. Just get my
Maybe
mom to call in.
every every episode we start off and it's just 30 seconds of hi Luke, blah 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 blah. Like it's just talking about like your home life and then being like, okay, I love you.
Yeah, it's just like, can you put the laundry down the chute, please? Thank you.
Hey Luke, I noticed you left a lot of dishes in the sink today. Okay, bye, love you.
Yeah, can you come address that, please? Thank you. Bye. Oh goodness, that would be awesome.
Maybe
I
I'll
would
see
love
if
that so much.
maybe I'll see if people want to send in voice memos. I'll put in like the next time I post about this, I'll be like, leave a voice memo on Instagram and we'll play it on our podcast or send me a clip and you can be featured. We do have a few
I,
devout listeners. I'll give a shout out. Aiden, obviously. Uh,
yeah, not Aiden.
uh, oh,
Mom,
Luke's
my
mom.
mom.
Luke's mom. Is that it? Are we at two?
We have two devout
No, no, no.
listeners. Let's go.
Uh,
That's significantly more than what we had 4 years ago.
Nicola, she listens a lot.
Oh, does she?
She does. She likes every time we post about her
Oh, wow.
podcast.
Let's go.
So that's
Shout
three.
out Nicola.
I think that's it. I think that might be it.
That's all we need.
Oh, Jeremy,
That's all
my
we need.
coworker. But yeah, like I think,
Dude,
like
we're at four. I need to step up my game because they're all. I need to tell
yeah,
my friends to listen more.
I think I've brought in all of your
I'm slacking it.
listeners.
No, no, I've done my mom. My mom's done it. She's called in. She will
Our
call in.
our chief
She's in the
marketing
listen.
officer, our head of publicity, has recruited his mom as our sole listener. So that shows where our corporate structure is at right now.
Yeah, I don't know why you gave me that position. I never took a marketing class.
Neither did I, Luke. And now I'm the
Yes,
I'm,
you did.
now
You
I'm the
had
head of
to.
social media. Nope. I guess I did. Yeah, that's true. I guess I did. Yeah, but as we've established before, I didn't treat business school as very seriously.
Mm.
I didn't feel like I
They
learned
didn't
much.
have. They didn't have. They didn't have podcasting 101.
We could do that. What if we taught podcasting? And then they're like, "What are your qualifications?" We're like, "We have 4 listeners on our podcast." So maybe,
I
so
mean,
maybe
that's better than some professors that I've seen. There's some professors that teach over a career path that they've never done,
we probably have to start in like high school or like community college. We probably have to start pretty low on the totem pole.
and then we only exclusively recruit the students that we listen or that we teach to listen to our podcast.
What if we just give like homework assignments that are just like listen to 3 hours of illogically ignorant and bump up our numbers, and like you have to post about it on your social media.
You have to like, subscribe, give us a video recommendation, and then share it, and then listen to a full podcast, and then write down what you thought about the podcast, what was cool, what was something that got your mind tingling.
And then they're gonna listen to like the walrus uh Usik poem, and they're
It
gonna be
was like,
like, and then
oh,
they're gonna be like, I have to write 3 pages about a walrus Usik. We're gonna make kids drop out by taking once they take our class. Like every single person's gonna drop our class.
oh, no, it's a guaranteed A. They just have to follow all of our rules,
Yeah, but
like every other
they're gonna be like, I have a master's thesis to write, but instead I'm writing 3 pages about a walrus Usik and Luke's mom.
thing. I think we should do it. I think we should do it. Or they can talk about, well, one of our very first topics, the largest animal that you think you could fight off.
Have we changed it? We've brought that up like we've brought it up once
Oh,
before again. I can't remember if we changed.
but we changed it from walrus, or not walrus. God, that's on my mind. That's all I can think about. No, we changed it from largest animal to most dangerous animal.
So did we agree wolf? Like I think me and you were both saying wolf would be like our
Teenage
highest
wolf,
capability.
a young growing wolf.
I think I think we could probably have like 30-70 odds on like an adult wolf. Like we
I
wouldn't
think we
come out of
could.
it unscathed,
An
but like
adult, an adult.
we wouldn't
I don't
come out
know
of
an
it
adult.
unscathed. Like
I
we'd
think
probably lose an arm, but like I think
for your neck.
yeah, I think like we give it an arm and we'd be fine. We need to go back and I think that's what maybe we need to start doing again. We need to start bringing back the old like hypotheticals, so we have a lot of clickbait in our titles. I mean, I think we're
Wolf
clickbaity
versus
enough,
wolf.
but like maybe we just. I feel like we did a lot of the fun hypotheticals though. Like I feel like we used to do like 4 an episode, from what I remember.
We used to do a lot of them,
But then again, a lot of those
and
episodes are
then
no longer up on the internet because we were really unhinged. So maybe we can just recycle them and then pretend like we never did them before.
oh gosh, we probably have an old Word document somewhere that we have to pull up.
Maybe I can just pull up like the first 3, 4 episodes that like aren't on Spotify, and then we can just like rehash those topics, reheated.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Pull up the unhinged ones.
We should do that
Ooh,
when
then we start a Patreon. We start a Patreon, and then we upload the unhinged episodes.
I don't know if a $5 monthly donation is going to be worth me not getting into law school. I feel like that's a not worthy trade-off.
Why wouldn't you be able to make it into law school? What have you said?
I said a lot of
You
things,
should
Luke.
say it right. You should say it right now. What did you say?
Luke, here's the thing. I can't even think of them. Like I'd have to play the audio clip because like you heard from my notes, what I used to say doesn't make any sense. Maybe that's why I'm safe because like from like a comedian standpoint, how like comedians are kind of immune to prosecution. I think like just the absolute nonsense that used to come out of my mouth is probably
So, is
safe.
this the development of a comedy podcast now? that what we have to do?
Well, I think we haven't really chosen a lane, right? Because I think this qualifies much more as a comedy podcast than a philosophy or a theology or whatever podcast. This is definitely more of a comedy podcast than any other serious topic.
It's just two guys riffing.
What is our
Okay.
podcast classified as? Like, it might be philosophy. I think that's
Is it
what
education?
uh culture and society. I feel like that's pretty good. Actually, I feel like that's actually the most apt description.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We are peak culture.
Let's see how they've changed. So our first few episodes. So episode two and episode two on are on Spotify. So only episode one is missing. That's the forgotten episode. But like we had
Oh,
cannibals and cessation of existence, Elon Musk and extraterrestrial invaders, Punisher proving intelligence the purpose of life, and then like episode 28, our last one was Luke reads a poem. So we've changed a good amount.
I should. I'd like that to be a bit for the future. I should start off with a reading from the wise one,
Just something to chew on,
something to chew on,
something for our students to
like a
digest.
like an usik.
Like an, just chew on that. Chew on an Usyk. You know, it might be fun if we did a,
Uh,
because we'll probably have another one recorded by the time that this one comes out. If for our 30th episode, I don't know if we want to do 30th or we want to aim for like a real big milestone. Maybe we could do it for our 30th. We could do like a, basically take our hypotheticals from like our first episode, our unreleased one, and then just rehash them here. That might be fun.
like a quick round.
Yeah, like a, just a, or we can even grab like
We're talking
maybe,
about we're talking we're talking about like 30 hypotheticals.
you think there were that many in the first episode?
There was one oh on the first episode.
Yeah.
Never mind. I thought you were talking about all the episodes.
No, no, no. I mean, even if we went for the first three, okay. Let's see. Oh, we got 91 views on our first episode on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, that was
Um,
us pressing refresh a bunch.
so oh yeah. Hey, don't tell people.
We had like 3 different laptops open and we just kept refreshing.
Don't tell people our secret. Uh, so our topics were John Wick versus Mike Tyson. Still easy. I don't think we need to bring that back. Um,
Yeah.
wealth versus
John Wick,
lifespan.
easy.
Uh,
Yeah.
that one might be a good one. Luke not doing dishes. Apparently, that was a topic we talked about for 30 seconds. Uh,
That was a 30 oh damn. That could have been an hour.
there were five senses. I assume that was something like which senses are most important. Video game survival. Uh, do you have free will? That was a free will was a 30-minute topic for us.
Yeah, that was a heated one for us because we disagreed.
Do you think we still disagree? Do you think you've maintained your
I think
same view
so.
on free will?
Yeah, because I was coming from the religious perspective, and I think that's the perspective I would still take.
I think I'm. Maybe we can save the meat of it for a rehash, but I think I'm more in tune now with the religion because I think I just listened more to like the religious perspective, and I think I like kind of considered it more. So I think I'm more reasonable, or I'm closer to your stance on it. But I think I'm still
Yeah.
off kilter on that one.
If
But
all I'm learning after all these years, you are becoming me. We're becoming the same person.
we've oh,
I'm
this is a fun
converting you
question.
to my ways.
Do you think you have become more like me, or I have become more like you? Like we've definitely become more like each other. I mean, just by the nature of how much
Yeah.
time we spend together. But like, who do you think has shifted more?
You, for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. I think
Listen,
without a
listen,
question.
listen to the first couple episodes of us talking, and then listen to our most recent episodes. Who who is more calm? Who's more tame? Who has less wrath in their heart?
I think on like I think you've had like one or two little changes from like one or two behavioral changes you've mentioned before. Like for me playing piano, you picking up guitar, things like that, right? But I think like
Yeah.
as a person, like from a character standpoint, I think my character has changed so much more to like reflect yours. And
I think you've had a larger character arc for sure.
I think that's what like you were saying. I don't think maybe it's because I've been out in the real world since like we started. Um,
Hmm.
but I think like you said, I don't think you haven't changed at the core of who you are as a person. You've like picked up new like behaviors, or you've maybe like tried to instill more practices. But like I think you are still very much the same person. I'd go as far to say like I'm not even close to the same person I used to be.
I think you've just picked up on a lot more healthier behavioral um, things to pursue in your life. Not to say you weren't doing them before, but I think you've emphasized them. You're not playing Genshin Impact anymore, being the biggest one.
Yeah, and I like don't really play League of Legends. That also helps. That helps my mental state and my like
Okay,
anger levels.
liar. You don't have to lie to everybody, Dave.
I don't play like I used to. Like the way I used to. Um,
Yeah, we used to rage after a loss.
I don't know how you like this is a genuine question. I don't know how you like could stand me when when we first lived together. Like genuinely, I can't imagine hanging out with myself or like God forbid living with myself as I was back in the day.
Let's just say you were essentially an abusive figure in my life, and so when you would become bad, I would just run to my room and ignore you.
Fetch me another beer, Luke.
Yeah, I would come out of my room, and you would just say something to me. I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. Bye.
Did berate people a lot. That's what I'm realizing. I'm something I'm grateful for.
Sometimes it was needed. Well, because we had this topic where like some people deserve and need to be bullied, and I agree with that. But I think you just took it to an extreme.
I definitely took it to an extreme. Like I definitely,
You
I,
became a hater. You became a hater from of everybody. Nobody was perfect in Dave's eyes. They all received hate.
except Dave. Dave was perfect. Everyone else was lesser back in the day. I think something I am grateful for is that like I still have friends from high school, college, like close friends
Mhm.
because I actually I'm gonna go ahead and say this. This might be a crazy, but I think I've changed the most out of anyone I know as a person in the past like 8 years, and I am grateful that people stuck around because I would not have stuck around a guy like me for that long. So if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
listening, thank you for not beating the crap out of me for being an asshole. Because I would have fought me. I would have fought me as I am now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would have thrown hands.
I yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know, but like you still had like more good in you than bad, and you just had to kind of like ignore the bad pieces.
I had a lot of
You're
bad.
just like, okay, this
I
is
had a
just
lot of bad.
yeah. In my mind, anyways, I could separate it. I'm just like, okay, this is just angry Dave. Just let him chill out for like 30 minutes. He'll be back to normal.
Oh yeah, Dave played a game of League of Legends. Okay, I'm gonna go hide in my room for an hour.
He's gonna verbally abuse me for the next hour if I taunt him anymore. Yeah, there were like two paths that you could go down for you when you lost a game of League of Legends. It was either to ignore it or fight back. And then like very seldomly would I win the fight back.
I
When I did, it was so nice. It was so nice. It's one of my highest achievements.
I think the thing is I think the thing that helped me mellow out was when you like just you were one of the people that pushed back, right? Like with like for example like Ryan, like if I were to berate him or whatever, he would kind of just shut down and leave. Whereas like you were the
Yeah.
one person who would like push my buttons back. And I think initially like the first like half year to a year, I was like very much still fighting back aggressive. And you would just wore me down to where like every time I got angry, you knew exactly what to say and I would laugh. And then that would be the end of it. So I think
I,
you fighting back actually helped me fight less.
yeah. Yeah. No, hmm. I think more often than not I would fight back because I would have the energy to fight back. The times that I would just like run away. It was more of just like, okay, I've got something going on. I need to leave. I can't just fight him for 30 minutes right now.
Those
It
are
was
some
good. It was,
good days. Not for you, maybe.
but it was no, 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 no. It was like fun and healthy because it was like it made me realize that like, oh yeah, you can't just not to say like you were bullying me by any means or like even like picking on me, but it like made me like stand my ground. And I never really had to like stand my ground intellectually before. So like that was nice. It was like fun and combative.
Maybe it's a little. Maybe
And then
that's
I
why. Our,
and then and then I could take it out on you on the jujitsu mat.
actually, that might be what mellowed me out. Like now that I think about it, that was like kind of the turning point, right? Like when you started choking me out physically, I think I stopped messing with you as much. I think like an armbar or two are really like attitude adjust someone.
Oh yeah. If you just get them in a nice body lock and then fighting off a rear naked choke for 30 seconds, or if I hold a choke a second longer than I probably should, it sends the message.
Yeah, you see stars once or twice, and you start to be a nicer person.
Yeah, where you think you would see red, you start seeing stars.
Thing is, I think I only ever like saw red with you like once. I've done it before with like guys here, just because they're my size and less skilled generally, and they go harder. I think I only ever like
Mhm,
got aggressive with you like once or twice. Generally, I was more like
mhm.
he'll kill me if I do anything, so I'm gonna be chill. I think that was the only place like I never I instigated with you a lot, or like I would me and you both pushed each other's buttons a lot, or like would try to make digs. But I think the
Yeah,
place where we were most civil was when we were fighting each other physically.
yeah, yeah. It was the most fun, I think. I don't know. I miss that. I miss having consistent jujitsu practice. I rode around a little bit yesterday with one of my cousins. He's a police officer, and we were at like a family thing, and we were just like rolling around, and like I still got it. It was kind of crazy. Like he's been doing it for like a couple of years now, so he like knew the moves, knew the transitions, but it was like I swept him, I put him in an arm triangle, I put him in a normal triangle. I don't even know where I pulled the triangle out of because I never practiced it. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm in guard, so I'm gonna try to put my legs around his head. And that was fun. I had so much fun. I was like laughing. I was like a little kid where I was just like gleefully laughing the entire time.
I think that's the cool thing too, is like when you get to a point with, I mean, I've always been there with like lifting, like I just enjoy being in the gym, lifting weights. But like especially when you're like rolling, a lot of people treat it more like, hey, I'm just here to learn a skill or get fit. But like when you start to have fun with it, I notice like when we roll here, um, a lot of guys are like, oh, like let's just do like 2 or 3 minute rounds. I'm like, let's just go. Let's just do like we've been doing like 15-minute rounds. I'm like, I just
Yeah,
have fun doing that. I think I'm gonna add
yeah,
that to
just
the
do
list of
free flow.
I'm gonna add that to the list of things to do
Mhm,
2026 when I'm back. I was just getting back into rolling a little bit, just casually, hobbyist. I think that'd be
mhm.
fun while I'm home. Nice little that'll be our cardio for when we're bodybuilding prepping. Except we're both gonna be miserable because neither of us are gonna have the calories to burn, and we're gonna be burning 800 calories a session.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. That's our cardio, like you said. At what point do you have to like stop doing jujitsu? Because I know when like Mike Israetel was competing, he had to stop jujitsu for a little bit. Was it like I don't know if it was like a risk of injury type of thing
It
or
probably is because like you're just not eating fat, so your joints and everything, right? You'd know more about that than me. But like, I'd imagine your body just doesn't have. And also, I can feel even when I'm in a surplus here and like I'm lifting 6 days a week and I do like one or two jujitsu sessions a week, like my body's such a wreck, but like it can recover after like 2 or 3 days. I think just when
yeah,
you're in a deficit, you just don't have anything to give.
mm, that makes sense. You're just your technique falls off a little bit. I was thinking maybe it was like from the injury perspective, like you don't want to risk an injury, or maybe like the calorie burning. Like it's hard to count how many calories that you're burning when you're rolling.
Yeah,
It's like some days if you're just doing like all drill work, you'll burn a couple hundred. If you're like going live the entire time, you might burn upwards of 5 to 800 calories. Maybe he just wanted more. I don't know. I'd have to ask him.
I think if we're taking it casually, we can like taking the bodybuilding thing kind of as a hobbyist fun thing. We can at least
Mhm.
do that as a fun thing on the side too. Give us a little break
Yeah.
to get our diet upset, like diet aggression out.
Hmm. I'm down. I'm down. I want to do more jujitsu. I need it. Uh,
We've
Here's some
been,
other things that I wrote down. Have we been cooking?
what you got?
Um, my my sister's fiance is streaming on Twitch right now, and my sister's the only person watching him. And I decided to write a comment on her account that got her flagged.
He's gonna lose his one viewer, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah. And she's like upset at me now. I just laughed.
She's gonna get her revenge on our podcast. She's gonna leave a review, like a 1-star review. That's gonna be the only thing that people ever
That's
see.
fine. That's fine. 1 star review. It's just two dudes talking about the same thing every day. Oh gosh. Dave, we need to be more interesting. We need to be able to tell more stories.
We we should do the podcast out of a Denny's. That's the idea.
Just hang out in the Denny's, drink some coffee, and do a mukbang at Denny's.
Well, if people pop by, talk about their experiences. We'll do a podcast on the street.
Oh yeah, we could have like a sign like, "Hey, join our podcast. Tell us your story."
Yeah, we'd have to do a lot of
That could be
editing, I
fun,
think.
dude. Dude, that could be fun. Just doing like a podcast with just like random people.
I mean, even yeah, like at some point, maybe when I'm home or something, or maybe when I'm home long term, like next year, we'll have more time and we can just bring people in off the street, or we'll set up a time like, hey, just stop by, and then just a huge group podcast.
A group podcast.
We might have to vet people and like be like, hey, here are the you should probably know the things you can't say on the internet, but here are those things, and we're gonna put your face on blast if you say those things.
Well, I mean, we would be editing it, so if like anything bad were to be said, we could bleep it out or cut it.
That's gonna be so much editing. You already know there's gonna be a lot of things we're gonna have to cut, Luke, because anything we post is an endorsement
Oh.
of is our endorsement. It's with our seal of approval.
Well, we can just cut like certain people out.
Every time one of our friend a certain one of our friends says anything, it just goes blank. The screen just goes blank for 5 seconds.
And then you have like an image that pops up where it's just like, or like some words. It's just like this person said bad thing.
It's
On to
just
the
like
next person.
it's just like the CEO of Spotify or like Mark Zuckerberg, just like just like we'll get a picture of them like shushing.
You've been censored. Your First Amendment rights have been taken away.
We'll work the product, and maybe if we get some maybe if you get some interesting like PT clients, we can bring them on if they have any life stories to
Oh
tell.
my god. They all have life stories, but I don't know if I could do that due to HIPAA.
Yeah, that's true. That might be a whole issue. When I go to law school, there
Whole
might be
issue,
some.
yeah.
I don't think I can bring people on. That might be a little confidentiality problem, a little privilege problem.
Because that's like another idea that I've had as well is to like write down books of just interesting patients that I've heard that they've told me, and the book title would be called Tales from the Table, like a like a PT table
And then
when they're
and then
doing their manual work.
you get hit with like 300 HIPAA complaints. That's that's why we need our gym to be a joint venture. So if you get sued for everything you're worth, they don't take our gym too.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I'm just like, yeah, I could change the name, change the location, change the age, change the condition. I don't even have to say the condition. I could just be like, Or unless it's a part of the story, then I would change that. Um, I think that's feasible. I'd probably have to ask for permission.
Yeah, I don't know if that's great for like attracting customers. Be like, hey, by the way, if you're going to be a client of mine, I'm going to put you in a book, and I'm going to talk about you to the public.
Dude, I've heard some whack shit. Oh my gosh.
We have some thought. I think it'd be fun to like. I think our guest podcasts have been fun. I mean, we've only had two, right? I guess we've had Khan and Aiden on, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to bring in
Ooh,
some variety.
that's what we can do. We can, if we ever bring on like a guest, because here's what I'm kind of like imagining for like the Denny's podcast. I'm imagining that we just have like a booth. I don't know if it would work at a Denny's, but we just have like a booth, and
Oh,
there'd
what if
just
we
be
did a
like a sign
library,
on the outside.
like a library,
The library could work.
and then like we grab a room, and then on the door it'll be like podcast from this time to this time, come in with like topics or like come in to speak to.
Yeah, and we could be just like, "This is your podcast. Talk about what you want to talk about.
I'm writing that. I'm writing that on our list of things to do.
Write it down."
Library. All right. Denny's slash libraries podcast.
Maybe if we can get Denny's to sponsor the food, we can have them just like eat like an omelet from Denny's while they're recording the podcast. That would be so great for audio. Just somebody chowing down.
Chewing the entire time. Yeah, people love listening to people chewing, by the way. Like that's something that everyone loves to do is listen to people eat food. I'm really glad whenever I'm on a call and then I hear people just snacking. That's my favorite thing to to listen to.
No, that's why. But that's why people love mukbang so much. They love the sound. There's like an ASMR aspect to it. They like people just eating copious amounts of food. Dave, write this down too. After a bodybuilding show, mukbang video. Right after.
Mukbang right after. And then and then right after that one, stomach pumping video.
Dave, the videos write themselves.
We're gonna we're gonna become influencers by the end of like 2026. We're gonna have so many. We're gonna have a little. We're gonna have a little hunting vlog, bodybuilding vlog, uh, a Denny's podcast, mukbang. We're gonna have it all. We honestly, that'll be like I know we've been kind of taking the piss a little bit, but like it's kind of like you said about writing something about a cool experience you've had, or like with me like taking pictures of like cool experiences you've had. It'd be so cool to have those like just vlogs or just for ourselves. We're like, hey, like here's a 20-minute video and it documents our entire bodybuilding journey and our plays on stage and a mukbang. I think that'd be
Mhm.
really cool if we actually documented it. If we're the guys with a tripod going everywhere.
I've got a tripod. Here, hold up. We're ready. I'm ready to go.
You know, someone was surprised when I mentioned they were like, oh, like you're like a bodybuilder, right? They're like, yeah, like do you like film yourself? I'm like, no, I've never filmed myself in a gym outside of like one reps or whatever, all I said to a camera, but I've never just like, hey, I'm gonna do 5 sets and film every single one of them. Never done that. So that's a milestone I still have to hit. We'll make sure it gets done.
I think that's something that you can do in like a scheduled cut. Like I really like the format, and I've talked about it a bunch. Like Chubby Emu's weight loss journey that he went on. He did like a 16-week cut, and he would just post one video a week of just like him eating, his current weight, his what he was doing in the gym, what he was doing that week for his fitness. And I thought that was a really cool thing. So if I were to do it, I'd probably steal or like get ideas from that format.
I think if we did like a yeah, like a weekly video of basically like Sam Sulek kind of structure where it's like, hey, we have like a little talk, we're like chatting, we do our eating for the day, like do a
Mhm.
little meal, go work out, and then do like a little post-workout meal and just chat, do like almost like a podcast in a sense. And then it'll just be like 20, 30-minute episodes. Just
Mhm.
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we got all these ideas. Now we just need to link up and make them happen.
We're really good idea people. I've noticed that. We're really great. good idea fairies. But like
Yeah.
we've been creating a lot of good ideas in the past year, and like just being dislocated, it's been hard to do. But hopefully, hopefully, a year down the road, we'll have more opportunity, and maybe if practicing near where I go to law school, that would be that would be cool, I think.
If that's the ultimate opportunity, I'll just take a travel contract near to wherever school you're going to be at.
I mean, it'll probably be easy just because I'll be wherever I go, it'll be like a large college town, so
Hmm.
probably pretty easy to find something near there.
Yeah. Or I can just work for the university, become a professor.
Yeah, we've got all these great
Can you
ideas, Luke.
imagine? I would be an academic professor and just making stupid YouTube vlogs in my free time.
Yeah, you're gonna be one of those professors that gets canceled. Be like, hey, 5 years down the road before you hit ten, like, or whenever you're about to hit tenure, and then they're like, by the way, we found hundreds of hours of you talking about U6. We're gonna need to let you go.
There's not hundreds of hours. There's maybe 1 hour max.
By the time we get there, by the time we get to me in law school and you being practicing
Why would
physical
that cancel
therapist,
me? Why would that cancel? Why would that cancel me? This is a story. This is a story and a poem. There's nothing bad there.
we'll see. We'll see what the
Now my
university thinks.
now my now my relatively positive opinions about certain people might have a negative impact on me in my future. That could be a thing.
Yeah, that might be an issue, but that's something we'll figure out down the road. Good ideas. We don't worry about
Yeah.
the execution. We just worry about the idea.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, that's like the entire time when you were talking about the vlog, I'm just thinking, I'm like, okay, now we need a camera, and if there's, we need like a camera person to hold the camera, or do we do that?
Uh, I think we could do that. We get two guys. We'll switch off.
Hire one of, hire one of our friends.
We could just hire one of our friends. Or we can hire one of our unemployed friends. And we're like, hey, we'll give you $20 for the hour if you come record for us while we're at the gym.
20 bucks an hour. Oh my gosh.
We'll have money. Well, uh, well, if we're maybe, oh, when we're like when I'm in school or whatever, and then we can just find a student.
Mhm.
We can just find a film student, and then that'll be
Oh, and that could be like his project.
yeah, that could be his project. Be like, I filmed these two
Ooh.
idiots eat and work out and talk about U6.
Yeah, because it's like it's low commitment. We're just like, okay, we're just gonna go work out. Just come hang out with us. Record. You can come work out too if you want to.
We'll buy you a post-workout meal. We'll get you a little Chipotle bowl, and that'll be your payment.
But but honestly, there's nothing more annoying to me than the people that like just talk in front of a camera at a gym. Like, pretty annoying.
I've
Like
never
record
seen that. I've
yourself.
seen people work out, but I've never been in a big enough gym to where like I've seen people like actually vlogging or actually talking to the camera.
Yeah. It's like, what gym would you go to? Can't go to like a really busy gym.
I think people do like zoo culture and stuff like that. Like all the videos I've seen are like in zoo cultures or Gold's gyms or whatever. I think just enough people are doing
Yeah.
it to where like you kind of drown out by the noise. You get drowned out.
Mhm. Ah, so drown out. Got it. I can handle that. Hmm.
Hmm.
Dave, I like these ideas. If only we were back in college again and we had a full income.
That's what's going to happen in two
All of our,
years. I'm going to be back in college. Well, we're both going to be technically back in college, and we'll have full incomes.
yeah, because I'll become a professor at the university.
Yeah, and you can front the entire cost for our podcast project.
No, 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 no.
I'm not going to be able to do it on BAH, Luke. That's going to be my only income.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
That's true. Never say never. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Thoughts for the future. Vlogs coming to you guys soon. Stupid,
Should
silly
be pretty soon.
eating vlogs. And
We'll give some updates too on our life progression and yeah, honestly, like it's guaranteed that I'm going to law school somewhere. So it's up to you, Luke. You have to be the one that.
it is, and it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed that I'm working somewhere.
So we'll make it match up. We just got to make sure you don't end up in a long-term relationship and not be able to do that. Your long-term
Oh
relationship
my
needs to
gosh,
be podcast.
it's podcast. Well, Dave, I've been going on dates, and they're like, I don't know, can't do it. I'm on a lot of dates this year.
You can meet a nice graduate school girl when we go to Virginia or UVA or Cambridge or whatever. Meet a nice
Wherever you
educated woman.
wherever you decide to go. That's what I need, Dave.
You need an
You know my
educated woman to
type.
tell you what to do with your life.
Exactly. I just want somebody to tell me what I should be doing at all times. I'm a good rule follower.
I doubt that
Just tell me
because
what
when
to
we
do.
lived together, you didn't like listening.
There was no punishment, Dave.
It's true. Yeah, you were the only one who could punish me for trying to give you rules. If you didn't like one of my rules, you just armbarred me.
It was the perfect dynamic.
Healthy relationship.
So so shout out to my future girlfriend.
That's
You
a
will be
crazy,
armbarred.
yeah, that's a crazy thing to say on a podcast. Is just be like, I'm, yeah, oh, not gonna hold up well in court, Luke.
All right, you'll represent me, right?
Yeah, sure, sure, buddy. Uh,
I
all right. You
I'll
got
make
anything
a
else?
disclaimer now. Everything that I said for the past 30 seconds was a joke.
Just the past 30
I'm
seconds?
a
I've been
comedian.
saying everything for the past 28 episodes. Everything past that 28 episodes is on is a joke.
Okay, okay. My bad. Thank you, lawyer, for helping me out. Yeah, everything that I've ever said has always been a joke.
It's
Do
always
not
been a
take
joke.
medical advice from me. Don't take medical advice from me. Don't listen to me. I know nothing. Everything's a joke.
I don't even think you gave that disclaimer when you told kids to start smoking cigarettes.
I didn't.
But now you did.
Still
So,
think they should.
all right. Well, on that positive note, you have anything else for the four listeners we have?
Don't smoke crack.
Don't smoke crack. All right. Uh, Meth is probably bad. Is my point for the rest of the podcast.
Uh, unless you have ADHD, then it's okay to take amphetamines.
Yeah, or if it's in pre-workout, then it's okay.
Could you imagine how focused you would be?
That's one of my biggest regrets is that I missed the Jack 3D wave. By the time that me and you were lifting, Jack 3D was gone. That's my biggest regret in life. That's the only regret I have
Jack
actually.
3D.
Is one with basically amphetamines in it.
Oh, really?
You don't remember that?
You methed out? No,
It was banned because
it worked too well. That's why it was banned.
yeah, no, it legitimately, what did it have? It had this is NBC News. Oh, oh, I'm ad blocked. Uh
Oh,
it had DMAA in it.
oh, oh. That'll work. That'll get you going.
Yeah, so that's my biggest regret. But if you guys have any plugs,
Wait, what
let me know offline.
plugs?
Any
You can
eh,
get DMA pre-workout on Amazon.
apparently it's still around. I don't know how legal it is, but
Wait, no, it's DMAE. Hmm.
oh, they are illegal and their marketing violates the law. So never mind.
Hmm. Marketed as a legal high in New Zealand prior to its ban. A novel psychoactive substance. Oh, well, that's it. Don't do crack. That's my final message.
Meth is probably bad, except in pre-workout. All right. Well, that will be the end of our podcast. Thank you for listening, cigarette smokers. And Luke, anything else?
And um, No, that's it. I'm out of final messages. This is Illogically Ignorant. See you guys next time.
Later.